10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome, everyone. The Competition Plus Power Hour live on Tuesday night. I'm Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer. There next to me, Darren Williams Jr., a.k.a. American Hot Rod Entertainment, also the assistant editor for CompetitionPlus.com. Plenty to talk about in the world of drag racing. And no, we're not going to talk about everything that you want to know. Sorry, can't let you know.
What's up, my man Lee Kraft? Like you said, another episode of the Competition Plus Power Hour on Tuesday night. Hopefully you can hear me okay, but man, I'll tell you what, we are on the road to the U.S. Nationals. Super exciting time. And once we pass it's time for the countdown to the championship time in the NHRA. The U.S. Nationals first, then the countdown. Let's get on, man.
It is getting on everywhere, honestly, in the world of drag racing. You look across the board, it is time to get your stuff right now. And there are other series. If you don't have your stuff right as of right now, you're not in the hunt whatsoever. I think of like a Funny Car Chaos and a Nitro Chaos. It is already down to go time. Get it done. You have no any more chances.
No, for sure. And like we said, just in every series, it's go time. You talk about Funny Car Chaos, PDRA, NHRA, wherever you talk about it, the fall time. This is the time in motorsports, NASCAR, anything, IndyCar. This is the time in motorsports where it's starting to get championship time. So, like I said, it's super excited. Couldn't hear what you just said because I had bad connection. So, I'm just trying to play off how I can right here. But shoot, what a race we saw in Indy. Before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to two certain drivers. First off, I want to give a shout out to Ron Capps. And the reason why I want to give a shout out to Ron Capps, 75th career win, 74 in Funny Car, got the first one in Top Fuel. But that ties him with a certain legend in the NHRA. You know where I'm going. He doesn't get enough credit. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. Pat freaking Austin. 75 career wins, won 70 in Top Alcohol Funny Car, won 5 in Top Fuel Eliminator. You talk about the greatest in Alcohol Funny Car, Bob Newberry, Frank Manzo. We put Pat Austin right up there. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. Doesn't get enough credit. Ron Capps ties one of the legends in NHRA drag racing at Pat Austin. And then also, I want to give a shout out to Antron Brown, AB. And we're going to talk a little bit more about AB on this show, I'm sure. But 73rd career win, but 57 to Top Fuel. He's now only 5 from tying the legend, Larry Dixon. Not long from now, we'll be saying Antron Brown is the second winningest Top Fuel driver all time, one of the best to ever do it. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to those two guys right there.
Milestones for sure. And every time I hear Ron Capps, Robert Height, that they get another win and they add to that tally as many wins as it is, you then go look at who has the most wins in Funny Car, and it just is like, what? Like yes, it's just like, what? Like that period of time that I was a little boy in loving drag racing, did not know that Austin Coyle and John Force had found it, the magic sauce, whatever it was, and was witnessing something absolutely special, unique, one of a kind, and something we'll probably never see again.
No, for sure. And you think about it, like just going back to, we know about Force, like he's way out there. Like there's nobody that's ever going to catch that, right? But you look at a Tony Schumacher with 86, or we talk about Ron Capps with 75, or Antron Brown 73, but 57 in Top Fuel. Like these are some staggering numbers. Like a lot of guys are hard. It's even hard to win just one or two, but these guys have won 50, 60, 70 races. Like you got to give credit where credit is due. These are some of the all-time greats in our sport. And it's an honor to be able to witness this right now.
It really is. And we are seeing some of the greatest of all time, especially in the modern era, doing it right now.
Exactly.
And it is cool to see. We're seeing future Hall of Famers there in the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. We're seeing future Hall of Famers for the Motorsports Hall of Fame. We are seeing them right now, whether it's a Robert Hyde, a Ron Capps, an Antron Brown, certainly a Greg Anderson, so on and so on. Those people, we're seeing it.
Well, Lee, so here's the thing. So obviously we've both been watching drag racing our whole life, right? You go back to the late 90s, early 2000s when we saw Antron Brown, the Pro Stop motorcycle, when he was driving for Team 23 and for the U.S. Army and everything like that. Did we think that, 20 years later, he'll be the third winningest top fuel driver of all time, possibly second within the next year or so? Like, did we ever think that? I mean, it's crazy, right?
I don't think so. No, it was such a shift, such a move. And I feel like, though all the championships and all the wins, it almost seems like his numbers have crept up on us, that maybe we just have not been kept up to speed. Like, you do a great, fabulous job, but some others do. But I feel like overall, like, we don't get these numbers like we should, and they get put in perspective. People are reaching Don, whether it's Don Gards or Don Perdome. People are reaching, some of the greatest in the sport of all time, other than John Force. But nonetheless, we have people reaching these milestones right now before our eyes, and we have some of the greatest drag racers to ever drag race right now.
Nah, for sure, for sure. Like I said, it's such an honor to be a drag racing fan right now and see these milestones being broken and everything like that. And so I'm curious. I want to. Does Caps at least? Does he have 25 more in him, man? Does he have 25 more in him? Get to that century mark? What do you think? What do you think?
I think so. I think Ron Cap, especially with him making the ownership move, he is going to be somebody that's in that car just as long as a John Force. And I spoke with him briefly yesterday, and with you mentioning what you did, I can mention that, yeah, I firmly believe there's still a fire. There's definitely fire in his gut, because I mentioned to him, I'm like, hey, man, you get to go in the U.S. Nationals as defending champion. The narrative is not Ron Capps has not won the U.S. Nationals. No, it's the narrative. Ron Capps did win the U.S. Nationals, and he pointed out to me, he's like, yeah, it's cool, and I'm points leader. So, yes, there's definitely a fire there to win and win championships for Ron Capps.
I interviewed Ron a couple months ago with Briar Star, and I asked him, I was like, hey, did it get annoying at all that every time that you came to Indy, the question was, when is Ron Capps going to win Indy? And he said, yes, it was so annoying. He said he hated it, but he knew it was something he had to do. He said, hey, it's all about the question. It's all about the storyline. We got to talk about it. Well, now that he's won the U.S. Nationals, like you said, he's points leader. He has the championships now. No pressure now. You can go up and start racking up U.S. Nationals wins. Hey, they say the first one's always the hardest. We can see Ron Capps rack off 2-3 more U.S. Nationals wins now. So, man, that's like I said, one of the greatest to ever do it.
For sure. That is the truth. Darren, there's a lot that we can go in the direction of this show before we get our first guest on. And let's also make mention right now, we will not have Angelle on the show. There was a scheduling conflict, but we will have Buddy Hull on, who made an announcement today. He's got an interesting rap scheme program for the U.S. Nationals coming up, and it's always good to talk with Buddy. But Darren, there was a lot going on in Brainerd. Yes, the national event. There was also a big test session. So your highlights from the national event, and then I think I'll bring the highlights from testing.
Well, like I said, my highlights from Brainerd has to be, Ron Capps, 75 wins, tying. Like I said, you want to acknowledge these legends of the sport. Like, we forget about a lot of these guys, and a lot of newer fans probably don't know. Pat Austin is one of the best to ever do it. 4 world championships in top alcohol funny car. Like I said, I mentioned him up there with Frank Manzo, Bob Newberry. Like, he's one of the best to do it. I'm a little biased because I'm a Pat Austin fan also, but he also drove Top Fuel, won 5 races in Top Fuel. So, 75 wins in his career for Ron Capps to match that. I think that's super big right there. And again, Antron Brown, like I said, third all time, chasing down one of my favorite top fuel drivers of all time, Larry Dixon, who sits second right now. So those are my 2 biggest storylines. And but also, and a lot of people might not agree with me on this, but you think about the NBA, right? Everybody knows I'm a big basketball fan. Well, Christmas Day is the biggest day and one of the biggest days in the NBA season, and everybody wants to see that marquee game, the Lakers and the Celtics, right? Well, for the Lakers, that game 2 nights before is kind of like a trap game, because it's like, hey, we're just amped up. We want to face the Celtics on Christmas Day. I feel like Brainerd is kind of in that way a little bit. I feel like these teams are like, hey, let's get to the U.S. Nationals. So I still feel like they put on a great event, but man, it's the big go now. This is the U.S. Nationals, the Grand Poobah, the big go East. I mean, I'm excited.
It does. Even Joe Costello on WFO radio today phrased it. He's like, just being honest, the last of it doesn't matter. And going into the big go, and especially with the way the point system is, and with the participation trophy era that we're in, if I can take that from one competitor, it does make Brainerd, sure, you want to win. You want to get, if you're Ron Capps, at 75th. If you're Antron Brown, you want momentum going into the U.S. Nationals. If you are Dallas Glenn, you want to win. They all want to win, but it may give the sense that if you went out early like a Matt Hagan, it's like, oh, we're testing tomorrow, and the U.S. Nationals is right around the corner, the big one.
So 2010, we started the countdown at the U.S. Nationals. I know it was a points and a half at the time, and Brainerd was the season finale, and it was a really good event. Bob Bodie won that race that year. That was a pretty big event right there. Would you be okay with Brainerd into the regular season and Indy kicking off the countdown, or do you like it the way it is now, where we we finish the regular season at the U.S. Nationals, points and a half? Obviously it's not the last, with the participation award, it's, everybody pretty much gets in, but how would you like to see it?
Well, first, I think the participation trophy side of it
has to go away.
And I think there's a lot of competitors that are actually voicing that at this time now, because whether you end the regular season in Brainerd or whether you end it in Indy, to me, it's a moot point because of that participation trophy-esque scenario that we're in currently. If you did not have it, then you could then begin forming arguments one way or the other. I am fine with it at Indy. That adds that much more importance to already the most important drag race in the world. Granted, from a marketing perspective inside, you could also see going to Brainerd amping up that situation because the U.S. Nationals is already as big as it is. So let's put the spotlight on another race before going into the regular season. And then you would even make Indy still have significant importance if you kept the points and a half, which it has traditionally had for a very long time, that it's the first race of the countdown. And if you win it, you can boost yourself that much more going into the remainder races.
And then Pomona obviously is no more points and a half because you don't want to have 2 points and a half races in the countdown. You want to have just one, I would think, if that happens, if they were to do that.
Right.
Oh man, I agree.
I think we all can agree though, the if you have made all the qualifying attempts and showed up for the races, it needs to go.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And we're being robbed of some pretty good top 10 battles right now. And let's just face it, Shaw Langdon and Tony Schumacher, they would be on the outside looking in going into Indy this weekend if we had the regular points format. And that's pretty exciting. That 8-time world champion trying to fight his way into the countdown. Shaw Langdon, his last win on tour was the U.S. Nationals 2020. He's a world champion, 2013 Top Fuel world champion. He's won sportsman championships. So it's like 2 top of the line drivers trying to fight their way into the countdown. It's a pretty good storyline we are kind of robbed of, I would think.
In a time where you want storylines, you have completely taken off the table several good storylines.
And then you have 16 cars in pro stock making a countdown, which is, whoa, 16. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot of cars.
Well, it's a whole field.
Exactly.
It is a whole full field.
Yes.
And I mean, look, whoever wins the championship at the end of the year, they have won the championship. And it doesn't diminish the championship, but what a diminishing of the regular season, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if like I said, we've been talking about this for quite a few years now. Let's see if this will be the finally be the off season where we see a change and probably see that rule go. I know why it was implemented a couple years ago, but I think we're kind of past that now, and it's time to get back to
Yeah,
regular top 10. Hey, top 8's good with me, but
right,
top 10 for sure.
right. Look, it was a COVID rule. Cool, I'm fine with it. I get it in the situation that we were in, but let me put it this way: drag racing has marked itself and at times even marketed itself as a sudden death sport. That it is 4 rounds of sudden death.
Mm-hmm.
It also is a sport where even if you're John Force, you still have to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one element in the sport at the professional level, the highest level of the sport, that is the fly in the ointment of such stances. It is a part that needs to go. It does not fit in drag racing with everything else the way in which.
I think we may have lost Lee Craft right here.
Am I back?
Lee? Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Well, I was on a.
Should have screenshotted that. That was a really good look.
Oh, wow, man. Look, let me simplify and bring it back at where I was going to. If you're going to have this, and it is going to keep, and they're going to keep it around, then just let the sport just go soft completely and implement provisionals, implement more people be on a 16-car field because they've got a championship, and implement all these different. Just go ahead and do it. Be NASCAR. Go ahead.
I hear you, man. I hear you. And like I said, we can talk about this for days, and we don't want to beat a dead horse though, because I know we have a lot to talk about. So real quick before we move on, like I said, going into the final race. Well, since we're talking about schedules first, Gainesville is opening the season once again. Does this mean that this is the end of the Winter Nationals, kicking off the NHRA season? I'm not saying we're not going to go back, but this is looking like the trend that we're going in now. Do you think this is a kind of a finality now of us kicking the season off in Gainesville from now on?
I think so. There seems to be movement that testing is going to continue to happen in Florida for these nitro teams instead of it being out west. So, yes, I think you're going to see the Gator Nationals at Gainesville Raceway become the new tradition in starting the NHRA Camping World Series calendar.
So do we put Pomona? And so obviously this is on the rumor mill. They're not looking to put Pomona on the Western Swing with Denver gone. Do we put it where it was this year in April? And I know it's not technically winter anymore, but is that its new place? Kind of in that spring type of, spot now. I don't know. I don't know where else you put it, honestly.
Again, I would prefer the Winter Nationals actually be in winter, even if it's like the last week of winter. I mean, it's still Winter Nationals, but they are going to attempt to put it in places in that market. Granted, that's a challenging market. You live there. You're in Southern California. I don't think you can pick a good weekend anyway. There's always something going on that you're competing against. But I know this. I don't think it needs to be during the time period of the Western Swing, because that one time, well, not just one time, but here recently where we did have it, the rescheduled race, it was abysmal at that with the conditions. Yes, brutal.
It was brutal. It was bad. It was bad, man. Yeah, but yeah, just wanted to bring that up. Obviously, like I said, like you said, I live in Southern California, so just want to get your thoughts on that. But let's talk about what everybody is basically here to hear us talk about, and that's some pretty. There's a big announcement tomorrow afternoon coming out of AB Motorsports, but we could do some speculation here tonight. You were in Brainerd for that test session yesterday, so give us the 411, man.
The 411 that I can give is this, that I already gave it.
Yes, that is very true.
It's true.
Yeah. I would blatantly just go out and say it, but I'm not going to do that.
And you out there just got to connect the dots.
Well, there's also a certain...
I will say this. It's going to be cool. And it is truly big news. It's going to be cool. I think it is good for the sport. And yeah, I wasn't expecting this one.
Yeah, me neither. I was not either. But, you know, a certain female is going to be announcing something tomorrow. But another female in the top alcohol funny car ranks also got her license yesterday. And Ron Capps and Robert Height actually signed off on her license. Give us the lowdown on that.
Right. Maddie Gordon, the daughter of world champion Doug Gordon and the event winner of the most recent national event at Brainerd International Raceway. Maddie did earn her license. There were passes in the 60s. She had 2 passes in the 50s, if I remember correctly. And then, for good measure, after earning her license, she dipped into the 40s at 264 miles per hour, nearly 265. It was like 264.84 or something like that. So, and I mean, drove straight and true. She staged it like she had been staging an alcohol funny car for all her life. I mean, just like you could not tell that this was someone licensing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it was certainly impressive. And the top alcohol fields got to be on the lookout for a new Gordon coming into that ride that is so dominant. Because look. They experienced the greatest engine explosion in top alcohol funny car history in the sense that they were underpowered. They blow a motor, they put this motor in, and they're like, oh, this one's making a lot of power. Because, I mean, like, what did he run, a 46 in eliminations up there at Brainerd? Just, like, nobody was close.
And, you know, just talk about Maddie Gordon. Obviously, you know, me and you, we've been following their careers for quite a long time, seeing them helping out their dad, working on the car, her and her sister. And we've talked about this before that, you know, the two sisters, they kind of have like this real Glidden brothers vibe, you know, with Billy and Rusty Glidden, how they would celebrate on the starting line and help out their dad and stuff and everything like that. So seeing her work on the car for so long and then now get her chance, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I feel like when you work on these things for so long, we step in the seat of it. It's like kind of like second nature, you know. So shout out to
right.
License and, yeah.
It is certainly a family operation. You know, Grandpa, Dad, to Doug Gordon, you know, he raced, gave the seat up to Doug. Doug's giving the seat up to Maddie. It's been a family operation because, you know, Doug's wife's over there and mom's over there and the 2 sisters, 2 daughters, you know, Macy, she builds the motors apparently, and Maddie does a lot of the clutch. I mean, she's elbow deep in there, just all in the grind. I mean, it's pretty cool to see. They're an interesting group, and they perform exceptionally well. And you know, this is not her just stepping into the ride willy-nilly. She's been drag racing a long time herself in other drag cars. This is just the natural maturation. What an interesting world, though, for her that you get Robert Height and Ron Capps to sign off on your license. I mean, arguably, other than John Force, the greatest funny car drivers that are out there right now. It's like John Force so far is that asterisk through this whole episode. You know, you got don't forget John. But congratulations to Maddie and earning that license. Yesterday, because yesterday was Monday. What a huge test session, man. That's one of the biggest test sessions I have seen apart from preseason testing at a midseason test. There were a bunch of cars, and mostly nitro. Maddie was the only alcohol funny car. There were 2 other alcohol dragsters there, one of the blown variety and another nitro injected dragster. And you had 3 door cars Two were copos. One was like an old school Pro Mod Willis, kind of like a top sportsman type setup, but the rest were Top Fuel dragsters and funny cars. So, Matt Hagan, Justin Ashley, Steve Torrance. Granted, I wonder if it was Billy, because Steve, one pass, was actually at the wall. So I think Billy might have been getting some laps in, coming up to speed, possibly for him being at the U.S. Nationals. But I didn't get over near the Capco pits to ask or to do some investigating. So I'm not entirely sure, but Steve wasn't in the car for one pass. Doug Coletta was actually there testing. If you don't know, Doug doesn't always test. Sometimes Sean actually tests both cars, but Doug did make some laps. Later on, Sean was in the Mac Tools car as well, testing, and he tested the Coletta Air car. J.R. Todd, they were having a good test session until it went bad. They lost a body. Half track, they blew it up. Nasty little boomer at half track in testing. Ron Capps was there, and Tony Schumacher. Tony Schumacher actually had the quickest ET in testing that I can recall. Mike Salinas made some laps. So if just about everybody that competed of the regular touring individuals, they made hits Monday, except for like Cruz, Wilkerson, Chad Green, Alex Laughlin. Mostly the whole field was there.
And there's another big test tomorrow in Indy, correct?
I believe it's actually Wednesday, Thursday scenario. Someone mentioned Thursday.
Okay.
Definitely tomorrow. And I will be there, though I've got a focus on with Doug Foley, assisting in his testing efforts with content. But nonetheless, yes, there is testing happening tomorrow at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. There in outside of Brownsburg, Claremont, and getting it in Indiana.
Yeah, man. Like I said, it's go time, man. It's the U.S. Nationals, the big go. This is we're right around the corner. We're on the journey now to the U.S. Nationals. But everybody, like I said, well, like we've said, and we've mentioned it, stay tuned tomorrow. There's a big announcement coming out of AB Motorsports, and it's going to be a bombshell. So look out for that announcement. It's going to be big. Can't wait for it.
I am looking forward to it. Yes, I am looking forward to it. That everybody will be able to hear it. I think it will be received in a positive light and fashion, and you just got to wait just a little bit longer, but it is certainly cool.
Before we move on, I want to talk to you about the World Field Alternationals in just a little bit, or we could talk about it at the end of the show. But before we bring on our Buddy Hall, cool comment right here from Sean, and I didn't know this. As you guys all know, I hang out at Jason Rupert's shop quite a bit with Les Mayhew. He says, best story of John Force signing a license for a driver was Jason Rupert. Turns out that Jason's dad, Frank Rupert, has signed off for John back when he was starting. I did not know that. So that's pretty cool right there. Thank you for sharing that, Sean. Really cool comment right there. Talking about Frank Rupert signing off on. It would be
interesting if there was, like, we could see the images of the licenses. Like, there's that database that we could look through. And I bet there is an interesting string of people signing off and signing off and signing off, and the connections of drag racing from great names to great names. And you'd never thought early on that it would be the case for the scenario.
No, for sure. And I like one that kind of comes to mind right now is that Kyle Huff, he drives a field altered. Well, used to drive a field altered, then an field altered, drives top fuel now, front engine top fuel. Well, Dale Worsham signed off on his license. You would think, well, where's the connection? But Dale Worsham, one of the greatest to ever do it. Like we talk about a lot of the greats, he signed off on his license. So you never know. Never know.
You never know. Like sometimes I think it just happens to be, do what?
No, like we talk about with Maddie, how Maddie Gordon with Robert Height and Ron Capps signing off for their license. I mean, just the way it goes.
I think sometimes it just happens to be who the heck's there at that test session, or when you're at the track sometimes. But it is, hey, it is cool that you see those connections and you have people signing off, and it's also interesting that in drag racing it is peer approval. But those that are qualified say, I've watched you, I see what you have done, and I'm signing off on you, and it is an endorsement.
I'm pretty sure he's talked about this already, but I forgot. I want to ask Buddy who signed off on his license. I'm pretty sure he'll throw out a pretty cool.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, we're gonna have to when we get on here.
Yeah. Ready to bring him on?
Let's do it.
What commercial are we going to?
Well, the individuals that pump this show up, Weldon, high performance. Buddy Hole, welcome to the Competition Plus Power. Ah, look at it. Yeah, he's ready to go.
I had a hard time logging in. Something happened to my hands, and this ain't working so good on keyboards, boys. I'm telling you.
Don't drive with those, buddy. Don't drive with those.
It's all good. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing good. We're doing good. Look, Darren wants to know. I want to know. We were just talking about licensing. So, what John Hancocks are on your Top Fuel license?
Top Fuel was Terry Haddock, Dale Worsham, and Matt Bynum.
Nice. I like it.
There you go.
There you go. It was in Las Vegas in 2021. Spring of 21.
And it's so like obviously we just talked about Worsham. That had to be like a cool, and even Terry Haddock, but for Dale Worsham, a champion in the class, a funny car champion, a Top Fuel champion, for him to sign off your license had to be a really cool stamp of approval for you.
That was awesome. Darren, you broke up there, but no, it was certainly an honor. I'm always humbled to be out there racing with people that I was fans of when I was a kid. You know, I remember going to the U.S. Nationals when I was a kid with my uncle and my dad. And, seeing Dale Worsham in their family funny car when technically he was still a kid. I think he was like 18, 19 years old. So to be out there racing with a guy like Dale and have him sign my license was definitely an honor. Same thing with Terry. Terry's probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest working guy in NHRA drag racing. And he really helped me get started. And I'm forever thankful.
Well, buddy, we thank you for coming onto the show on short notice. We appreciate you filling in the guest spot, but it is not for reason with you having lack of anything going on in the world of drag racing. Put out the press release, cool program, very cool wrap that you're going to have there at the U.S. Nationals and you in competition. So talk about playing off of your background and throwing it in with drag racing, and that, doing something special like this can work out with marketing partners.
Yeah, no, it really can. And, all my marketing partners like Renegade and Methanol Moonshine are 100% behind me with this program. So if people know me, they know that I love kids and I love dogs. So, I'm all about trying to, get people involved in the sport and draw new fans and create future drivers. I sponsor a little girl here locally with her dragster program. So, I thought, let's have some fun in Indy. Let's do it my way. Let's have some fun. Let's get creative. And, Cougar and I were in the shop one day. I said, hey, man, I got an idea. He's like, well, what's your idea? And I said, man, why don't we do the Hulk? Why don't we do a Hulk dragster for Indy? And I explained to him my whole theory. He's like, that's great, man. Just do it. And so here we are. So contacted the gentleman that I work with to design my wraps, and he gladly grabbed the bull by the horns and came up with what I think is something that's really going to be an eye pleaser for the kids, and I think for some adults too. I think it's a pretty unique thing that we haven't seen out there in a long time. That I'm aware of. I don't think I've seen a themed race car in a lot of years. So I'm sure excited to get out there. Hopefully it's a fan favorite, but most importantly, hopefully the kids are drawn to it. That's the whole goal.
Certainly looking forward to seeing it in person, looking forward to seeing it on TV. And for sure, look, I think in drag racing in particular, more than any other motorsport, themed cars, they should be a reality. Even if you've got a corporate sponsor, figure out how to have your name of your car on there some way, somehow displayed. It can be done.
Yeah, we were able to get this wrap, and get it. My dog's trying to join here. You see him? Old Bowser. But, we were able to incorporate, the colors of Renegade with the purple and the green and get methanol moonshine on there. And once again, I'm repeating myself, but they were overly supportive of my approach. Both owners of both those companies know I love kids and I love promoting our sport. So, and, it's like this, I look at what I loved when I was a kid, and I look at like the Blue Max funny car. Let's talk about the Blue Max, because I'm here in Dallas, and, I'm friends with Ronnie Young, and I have a trailer that was built by Ronnie Young. And looking back to that era, Raymond Beadle created the Blue Max, and it's a forever name. It has a theme behind it. It has history, and I think that kind of has fallen the wayside, due to sponsorship to keep cars out there. But I believe that there's some creativity that can happen to work some coolness back in. And I watch Monster Jam. I watch how they promote towards those kids, and I see how those kids love those monster trucks. And I look at how they're themed, and I look at how they promote themselves and how much fun they have. The dog's going to eat somebody. But anyway, I look at all that, and I say to myself, I can do that. I can find ways to be creative and still get my sponsors' names out there and still promote something cool and get my pit area loaded full of kids. That's the goal.
Well, why it's so cool to me is, I look back when I was a kid, I remember the Cruise Petragon Batman Forever body. I think about when Joe Amato had the Superman car, I got the John Forrest Grinch car back here. I mean, that was some of my favorite paint schemes. So, man, I think this is super cool what you're doing. And hey, who knows? Maybe this can attract Marvel or something like that, and this can turn into something bigger. Who knows? So I love it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. We're gonna have fun with it. Mike has been working really hard on the race car. And, we've improved each time we've gone out, and we want to continue to do so. We want to make our marketing partners proud. We want to be competitive. We want to be respected out there. We want to put on a great show for the fans. We love NHRA drag racing, and this is what we want to do, right? We want to have fun too. I think sometimes, you get caught up in the mix of the racing part of it. And sometimes you just got to stop, pump the brakes a little bit and say, hey, this is America. Let's have some fun with this thing. Let's get some fans involved in a different way. And we're doing a one-off T-shirt for the U.S. Nationals. I think we're printing, it's like, 400 or something like that. And they'll only be for sale at the U.S. Nationals. After that, they're done. And they're the Hulk Top Fuel Dragster shirts. So we're trying to do some really cool stuff that no one else is doing, just to try to stand out and be unique and draw more people to the sport.
Well, I applaud you for the effort. Certainly in the sport, we need more of it, not just in the sport of drag racing, but just across the board. Things like this need to happen. Darren, I don't know about you, but I look at the NASCAR world and I think to myself, if you are a marketing partner and you do not allow a throwback scheme with your driver at Darlington, I'm not buying your product. Like, I look at it that way. Like, it does not help you to not do a throwback scheme at Darlington. So marketing partners, keep that in mind.
Well, Lee,
that's
also,
right.
Lee,
I agree.
Well, Lee, remember U.S. Nationals? This one, everybody brung out the cool paint schemes. Like they got away from their traditional primary paint scheme and brung out the cool scheme. So, like Buddy Hall bringing out the whole car, just kind of like bringing that back. I like it. We need all teams to follow suit.
I agree. Well, Buddy, you talked about that marked improvement in performance, and I even joked with you at Kansas, hey, you weren't on fire this weekend. And
right.
That was the case. It has really progressed from where it was earlier this year, and definitely looking like a contender in qualifying and even in eliminations with your program at this point. How much are you going to push at a U.S. Nationals to not just make the show, but turn on that win light?
Yeah, great question. Clean and consecutive runs is what we're looking for. We will be aggressive. Mike Guger is an aggressive tuner, and we're not showing up to just show up. We're showing up to not just qualify. We're showing up to, effectively be competitive and win rounds of drag racing. And that's always our plan. It doesn't always go that way, but I've always believed when you're competing in anything, if you don't work with the mindset of showing up to win, then why are you working towards something? Why are you practicing? Why are you even involved, right? at that point, you're a hobbyist, and this is way beyond hobbyist level. So we always prepare the right way, and we're showing up to have a competitive race car, and we'll see how it goes from there. But we built a couple more short blocks, so we're showing up with plenty of engines and plenty of cylinder heads and a brand new supercharger, and we're ready to rock and roll. We are showing up ready to run our car hard.
And like Lee mentioned, we've seen the progression and performance from your team. You guys have gotten better, from the start of the season. Is there anywhere on the racetrack in particular, maybe incremental wise, where you guys would like to see an improvement, whether it's from starting line to 60 feet or down track, or we're somewhere on the racetrack where you guys like, hey, we really need to improve right here?
So we've been very focused on our clutch program, and that's really what's turned around our race car. And so we've really been focused on that first 60 to 330 feet. We all know that how these cars start is how they finish. And so we had a great improvement in Topeka. We on a 135-degree track, we had an 850 flat 60 foot, which for track temperatures like that in conditions that we had is a very solid 60 foot time. So we feel that we are most certainly headed the right direction, and it's not just that it's happening naturally. The changes that we're making to our car are working. The car is responding directly. Every change we make, the car responds. So again, we're going after it a little bit more in Indy, and we plan to make every qualifying run in Indy. So we're going to go after it. We're going to get aggressive, and those first 330 feet are what we're really after, because my car works in a fashion. If it goes that first 330 feet the right direction, it's going to go. It's going out the back door, and there's going to be a nice number on the board. So that's really where we're focused.
Kroger sucks 45. I like that name. He says, buddy, are you going to be able to test before Indy?
We're not. No, we're not going to test before Indy. We will not be leaving until that week. So I guess it's next week. We're not going to be testing. I wish we were, but to be honest, we don't have the budget for it. If we had a bigger budget, we would do so. But we do a good job at racing within our means, and we do a great job at conserving our parts for when necessary, and that's what we do. And every single day we work with our marketing partners and garnering new marketing partners to increase our budget so we can test and we can run a full season. That's our goal, right? To continue to work with those partners and grow our team.
Buddy, you mentioned marketing partners. You are not new to drag racing. You have campaigned your own fuel altered. You've been in funny cars. You've been in such great match racing machines that do the circuit, such as Drastic Plastic. But this year, your own hot rod with PRI, and after PRI, the marketing platform stepped up with Moonshine Methanol and Renegade Race Fuels and others along for the ride. What has it been like in your career at this point working with marketing partners that are using you and your ride as that platform in the world of NHRA drag racing?
Honored to do so, first of all. And for me, my two biggest marketing partners right now are Methanol Moonshine and Renegade Race Fuels. And they became family to me. I always say that one thing I struggle with is being someone I'm not. So they've completely accepted my personality, the way that I like to operate, and we became family. To me, the owners of those companies and their employees that have came to the track to enjoy the races have just been incredible. And we work to develop relationships with people that are forever. Whether it's Wade Onger or Toby over there at Renegade. I love these people, and I'm so thankful for them investing into my program and quote unquote taking a risk with a fairly new NHRA owner and driver. And so I'm forever thankful. And I believe that those two names somehow, some way will be on my race car probably forever. I don't see our relationships failing in any way. They're completely satisfied. I'm completely satisfied. And we're super excited about what we still have in store for this year. We have other cool things going. It's not just the Hulk car. I have some really wild ideas. I enjoy thinking outside the box. I'm a business person at heart, and so I see some voids that we could fill, and it can be entertaining. So they're excited, and you better believe my entire team and Mike Guger and myself and Maddie, we're pumped, man. I wish Indy started tomorrow.
All right. Well, I think we lost Darren. Hopefully
Yeah, he
he'll
don't
come
like
back
it.
along.
Darren
But
don't
right,
like
it happens. It happens.
He don't like it.
Well,
I'm
look,
used to it.
we want to give you the platform here, and want to mention social media. You've got a young man working with you this year. I want you to introduce him, his name, and what he's doing, because React 104 with Corey, stellar production work out there in drag racing of a cinematic level, but the individual you've got working with you this year is right there as well in doing some stellar work that people need to check on your socials.
Yeah, Jace Maynard and I connected, and he's my buddy now. We met through boat racing, and we hit it off right away. We shared a lot of commonalities, and just a great guy. He's somebody I wanted to be around. And I said, Jace, are you interested in drag racing this year? Is this something you would consider doing? Because if you want to, we can figure out something for you. And we came up with a good, solid plan. And Jace's improvement in his filming and editing have just progressed at an incredible rate. I mean, the stuff he's doing, I look at it and I'm like, he did that. He films his stuff, goes in the trailer, sits in his little nook, gets his computer screen going, plugs all this stuff in. 20 minutes later, he's like, bro, look at this. Look what I just did. And I'm like, how did you do that? How did you make something so amazing all happen within 30 minutes? But he's incredible. His social is JMP1. He's the easy guy to find. You can also find him through my social media, Instagram, BuddyHall323TF, and then Buddy Hall Racing on Facebook, and Buddy Hall323TF on TikTok. Is where all those things get posted. And again, Jace is like family to me now. We were flying around the country, and he came to me 2 races ago and said, "Hey, I'm kind of interested in riding in the truck and hanging out a little bit more." So it was his choice. Now he's on the road with us. He loves hopping in the truck, and we act like big kids on the road. We have a good time, and he's just a blessing to have. I just hope I can keep him. I don't want anybody stealing from him, right?
Nah, he does great work. I follow you guys heavily on social media, and I love his videos and his reels that he does for your team. He's really talented guy right there. And I want to pull up a comment real quick, because this guy's pretty much paying it forward a little bit, because you're always in the comments, buddy, saying Michael Anderson for president during the Kings of the Sports show. So Michael Anderson has come now here on Competition Plus Power Hour and says Buddy Hall for president. So shout out to my man, Michael Anderson, right there, giving you a little love here on the Competition Plus Power Hour.
Mike's always positive, man. Those are my people that are always positive, smiling, laughing, and carrying the name of the sport. Those are the people that I gravitate towards, and Mike's that dude. I like Mike.
And so, like you said, you're from the Dallas area, and Michael Anderson is from West Texas. He's the West Texas Hustler. So let's keep with the Texas theme now. And this is 2023 is the 30th anniversary of Eddie Hill's first Top Fuel Championship in 1993. We're headed to the Stampede of Speed in a couple months. You're doing the cool Hulk theme for the U.S. Nationals. Is there anything in the pipeline, anything in the works, maybe Eddie Hill-wise for Dallas, maybe? I don't know. Is it?
No. I don't know. Why would you ask that thing?
I'm just asking.
Okay. Maybe I was thinking about dyeing my beard white and putting on a white wig. You know what I mean? I may go that far. We'll see.
I like it. Like I said, it's the 30th anniversary. Eddie Hill, one of the best to ever do it in this sport. Gotta show some love. The Texan.
Hey, man, when I was a kid, I remember watching Eddie Hill in the nuclear banana. Him and Fuzzy Carter. I was always so intrigued and infatuated by. And I asked my dad, why when he's at the starting line, why is it spraying all this fuel? They were the first guys to really have a car really quote unquote rich idling. And I thought that was so cool. And rest in peace, Fuzzy Carter. He was a great crew chief. And those two made a heck of a team. And Eddie and Ursi are just two of the legends that I grew up watching that I fell in love with drag racing through. Him and Don Gartless and Joe Amato and Kenny Bernstein and John Force and Chuck Etchells. Those are the names that were in my home every single day. and we didn't have a lot growing up, but what we did have is we had those paper print national dragsters that came once a month back then. They were that old, nasty, dry paper, man. And I'd flip through those things. And, I had silly putty. I don't know if you guys know this trick, but if you take silly putty and you smash it on a picture, a newspaper, it transfers over the silly putty. I used to do that. I love that stuff. My dad and I used to build models together, the glue together models where you painted everything up and put on the decals, because that's what we did, in Central Illinois in the middle of the winter when it was 20 degrees outside and there was a few inches of snow on the ground. That's what we did. So I grew up with all those names, and Eddie Hill is a true legend, and he's just right over here in Wichita Falls. So yeah, maybe someday we do something with him. I don't know.
Let's try to get him to the racetrack this fall for the Stampede of Speed. That'll be cool.
Yeah,
Eddie's back on the racetrack.
I think you should call him. Hey, Eddie, yo, what's going on, bro? Come to the track, dog.
I might be able to do that. Just I don't know, man. I might be.
We'll do a 3-way. I thought about just showing up there one day. It's not that far away. I think one day I'm just going to call there in the morning, but is Eddie there today? And they're going to say, yeah, hold on a second. I'm just going to hang up the phone and I'm going to start driving.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Surprise, Eddie, I'm here, man.
Have you ever met him before?
I haven't. Well, when I was a kid, but never as an adult, I don't know the last time Eddie's been at the racetrack, to be honest with you. I know that he shows up sometimes at some of the boat races and stuff like that, but I couldn't even guess when the last time he's been to the racetrack. So I have not seen Eddie in my adult life. I don't think I have seen him in person since, the late 90s or something. It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. So, but I think he looks the same. I see him on Facebook. He looks the same as he did like 40 years ago.
Yeah, he does.
Like ageless. It's like he's hermetically sealed or something. He doesn't get older.
Buddy, earlier on the show, we had a brief discussion on the countdown situation that we're in with if you qualify, you make all the runs, you're at every race before the countdown, you are in and a part of the countdown. Though you're someone that is not competing where you are eligible for even such participation allowances, how do you feel that makes the sport appear at the professional level? Is that something that we should keep in the sport, or should we see it go?
He basically just asked, how do you feel about the participation award? I think.
So we missed about 80% of what you said, but I think what you're going after is, how do I feel about the countdown? Is that right or wrong? He's completely frozen.
He's gone.
Okay. I'm going to go after it because I think that's what he was asking me. So, I have a yet biased but unbiased opinion about the countdown. I think that it adds flavor for sure. I think that it, that when that quote unquote, when those top 10 people press reset, it's almost like a season within a season. But there's caveats to it, right? Everyone has an opinion, and in some ways one could view as it being unfair. You could have incredible regular season before the countdown, and you can win 3 or 4 races and be that number one in points, and then whammo, Indy comes around and all of a sudden something changes with your race car. You may have to change clutch disc or whatever it is, and next thing you know, you're not the best race car out there anymore. And so you could have been kicking butt all year, and all of a sudden in the countdown you're not kicking butt and you lose. Vice versa. You could have been number 10. You could be the number 10 race car in the countdown. And then all of a sudden, everything gels together. The team's gelling. The crew chief's got this thing on kill. And whammo, you can win a championship from the number 10 spot. So I think it's good for the fans. I don't think there's anything perfect in this world. And I think there's a lot of opinions about how it should or shouldn't be. And what I'll always say is this. Everyone races on the same track, under the same rules, under the same weather conditions. and we just got to race that way. You know, sometimes we all wish it was something different. And I bet if you talk to all of us will have a slightly different opinion. So therefore, none of our opinions really matter that much. In the end, you know, it's NHRA sandbox, and we get to bring our toys and play in that sandbox. And I have ultimate respect for those people. And so I'm going to play their game because I choose to play. You know, I choose to show up. We all choose to show up with our race cars and play that game. So I think there's a lot of pros and cons to it. I can certainly see the value in it from a fan's perspective. And I like that this year it's been more of a discussion point. I do like that. I've been paying attention, and I see it's been more of a discussion point. So that way fans have something to follow. So that's my opinion. I hope to someday be able to race for a championship. So I'm working towards it every single day, and I'll never quit.
I think we lost Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer. You have no connection issues.
You don't like us no more. You don't like us.
You don't know. Yeah, he'll be back in a few minutes. I think where he was really trying to pinpoint on that question though was as far as like the participation award that we were talking about, how all you have to do is attend every race and make 2 qualifying sessions and you automatically make the countdown. Do you think that's a rule that should probably go away, or do you kind of agree with it for sponsor rise?
We need more race cars.
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer. The answer is not changing the rules. The answer is, you know, owners and drivers, you know, out there building more opportunities for other people to bring more cars, so technically it becomes more competitive, right? So there's 12, 13 cars that run every race, or let's say 95% of them, right? Well, there needs to be like 20, right? Or 18 or 19. There needs to be more than 16 to make it interesting enough for it to really be effective. So, you know, I don't think the solution is changing the rules. I think the solution is all of the racers and the NHRA and marketing partners working together and finding ways and finding more, you know, partners and revenues to build more teams and to bring more young drivers into the sport. I think that's the future. I mean, I'm soon to be 43 years old here in a few days, and I'm one of the youngest drivers out there. That doesn't make much sense to me. You know, right? I'm not young, but I'm one of the youngest drivers out there. That's weird to me. I think that, you know, we should have drivers out there that are 19, 20, 25 years old. Cody Crone's a great example. I love that kid. You know, I've known his father before he was born. I think Cody's 19 or 20 now. He licensed in Larry Dixon's car. And when I look at him, I just look at the future. And I look at someone like him, and all I can pray for is that someone sees something in him and figures out who he is and grabs him, sticks him in a car, and gives him an opportunity. That's what we need. That's what the sport needs. We don't need to change the rules to make it different. We need to find more drivers and create more teams and build the future so that way the countdown gets more interesting. What do you think? Am I right or wrong?
No, I agree with you. And I really agree with you on the point of we need younger drivers in this sport. So for you, you know, I know you have a lot more driving years ahead of you. You're a team owner, new team owner, so you'll be behind the driver's seat for a very long time. But are you already at this time kind of already looking out and kind of seeing like, hey, these are probably some of the drivers that I probably want to fill my seat, you know, 20 years from now or 10 years from now or something like that?
100%. I sponsor her right now. You know,
okay.
Dawson, I sponsor her. She's does an incredible job in her junior dragster, and you better believe that in my head I have a plan. And you know, you got to be a steward, right? You cannot be selfish in anything that you do in life. I always feel and work in a fashion, whether it's my businesses or whether it's racing, if I know something, I just want to teach it, because I don't feel that holding information back or holding a skill back behooves the growth of anything that you're doing. So, you know, I look at, again, Cody Crone, and I look at these younger drivers, and I think to myself, man, someone just needs to grab these drivers and get them in race cars. And I hope it to be me. I mean, I'm working hard as a business person to build my racing team, so maybe I can have more than one car, so I can personally put a younger person in there, younger than me. I don't want to stop driving anytime soon. I love driving my race cars. I love it. It's my heart. It's one of the things that keeps me going and working hard every single day. But you also better believe that I'm thinking about other people as I'm building my team, saying, well, that'd be so cool to have 2 cars out here. And then it'd be even cooler to have 3, right? And I'm a big thinker. I know that. And sometimes I enjoy thinking unrealistically, because thinking unrealistically will sometimes allow you to achieve the unrealistic. And so going back here to the countdown, hey, someone may be listening right now that has an opportunity to grab up one of these younger drivers and can financially support a professional motorsports team. And if you're listening, find a driver. And if you don't know one, give me a call. I'm not a hard guy to get a hold of, and I'll help you find one, because they're out there.
Hey, buddy, that was a heck of a line. Can you say that one more time?
Which one?
Thinking unrealistically allows you to what? Say that again. That was a heck of a line.
Yeah, I have a few of those. Thinking unrealistically will eventually allow you to achieve things that are completely unrealistic.
I love that.
You have to think that way. If you don't think beyond average, if you don't think beyond this is possible, then it's never going to happen. You know, that's how the light bulb was created. That's how, you know, somebody flew a kite and found electricity, and that's how Jim Epler went 300, and that's how Chuck Etchels went a 499, and that's how all this happened, right? That's how Kenny Bernstein, my crew chief, Mike Guger, was on Kenny Bernstein's team. They're the first to go 300 miles an hour. Hey, someone had to think that 300 miles an hour was possible. I mean, I've heard these rumors, and don't quote me too far on this, but I've heard that back in the 70s and 80s that someone was saying, scientists were saying that the human body couldn't go over 200 miles an hour, right? Or something like that. You guys ever heard this stuff? That it wasn't possible? You guys ever heard of this stuff? Well, look what's happening. You got Mike Salinas going 338 miles an hour, you know, last weekend, and Brittany Forrest going, what'd she go, 339 or 338 up in Denver, you know, with no air. I mean, it's incredible, right? So anything is possible. Josh Hart, man, I love his logo. The back of his wing says anything is possible. And I always hope to stage behind him, because when I stage behind him, I'm looking at his car going, heck yeah, anything's possible, because that's how I run my life. I think that anything is achievable as long as you're working towards it. So think unrealistically to create unrealistic, things to create those things. So anyway, don't get me started, man. You're going to get me all started. We're going to stop talking about drag racing. We're going to start talking about philosophy. I'm going to bore everybody. Your viewership's going to go down, so don't do that.
No, we want you to get started, buddy. This is the fun stuff right here. This is what people want to hear.
You get me fired up like this, I'll be Hulk smashing, doing all this crazy stuff.
We got Lee back, though.
He's back.
I am back.
I couldn't hear a word you said, so I heard little tidbits about how I felt about the countdown. Were we right?
It was about the countdown, yes. So
Okay, good.
Wherever you took it, awesome.
I think it was okay. You guys are the best. I like being on with you guys. You know, we could probably talk for hours, us three. You know that? And one thing that maybe viewers don't know, that we know, all three of us have started our career at the NHRA professional level at the same time. Y'all know that, right? All three of us.
Yep.
That is true.
Same time. And I'll never forget it. It's right here in my heart. I'll never forget you guys. Darren Williams was featured on the top of my Top Fuel dragster while that was a picture of him Olympic lifting. And I don't remember what race it was, but I'm like, Darren, come on, man. Let's put your face on my car. And I think we went like 308 or something with your face on the hot rod. That was a couple years ago.
Pomona 2 years ago, and you had a massive engine explosion.
Yeah. That was because of Darren. It's his fault. You owe me, bro.
But no, I remember walking in the Terry Haddock hauler at Atlanta for the last Southern Nationals, which was your debut. Nobody was concerned about who the heck is Buddy Hull, and I'm like, hey, who's this dude?
Yeah, I'm thankful for that. And those are the things I never forget. And, you know, Lee, we've talked about this. You know, it's cool to see people grow together. You know, even though we've all three obviously been very interested in drag racing for a lot of years, and our involvement's been a different level, but at the same time, we all three came into this level at the same time. And so I never forget those people. You know, there's probably about there's about 8 or 9 people that I will always be thankful for, that I will force myself to always somehow work with them or around them, because that was the start of that point. Just like there's some people at the very beginning of my racing career that every time something happens, they're the first people I text message, man. You know, still to this day, my first people that were worked on my car that I drove, you know, 15 years ago, anytime something goes down, anytime there's a new wrap that's going on my car or something cool's coming, they're still literally the first people to know. And they don't race with me anymore, but I still feel so thankful for them. You know, Jared Short, you know, my dad, my uncle, George Allowell, Gail Jenkins, these guys, these are my friends. You know, we've been friends for all these years. And so I always believe that you should never forget what you came from, but you should continue to grow. And that's my approach. I make a lot of mistakes. There's no doubt about that, but I do my best to always include people. We have another big announcement coming. I don't know when we're going to roll it out, but we have another big announcement coming before the U.S. Nationals. And that announcement is via a lifetime friend of mine that has literally known me since I was in a set of diapers, because I think he's roughly 10 years older than me. And we've always remained friends. His father and my grandfather were really close friends. They built a lot of hot rods together. And lo and behold, you know, all these years later, we're still connected and we're still doing stuff together. It's so cool. So I'm really blessed to have a lot of good people around me. And I'll say that there's no way possible that I could do anything that I do without people. Because it all revolves around people. And I always try to work in a fashion in which people can benefit somehow, some way from the things I can host or that I could offer them. Because I believe that if you take that approach and everyone's winning, even when you're not winning, people are still winning, and it makes it worth it. It makes it worth it. And it creates a lot of memories, man. It's the coolest stuff in the world. Because in the end, the only thing we all have is just memories. You know, that last 5-10% of your life, the only thing you can do is tell those stories, remember those moments, and be proud of them. So it's pretty cool. So you two, somehow, some way, you're always stuck with me. I want you to know that.
And, well, buddy, you mentioned memories. Like something I will remember for the rest of my life is honestly getting to put my American Hot Rod on your Top Fuel dragster at my home race, the Winter Nationals. I mean, that's something I will never forget, and I can never thank you enough for doing. That was a badass moment that will stick with me for forever. Like, not many,
love doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I carried a bag of ashes down the track with me in Topeka for this gentleman, and he walked up to me at the ropes and he says, you know, buddy, I became a fan of yours and I really like your approach. And, you know, he started crying. I'm like, oh, this is different. You know, this guy's got something going on. You know, what is it? So he gathers himself up and he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out a little Ziploc bag and he says, my best friend and I came to this race every year for over 20 years. And he died a couple years ago. And, you know, all he ever wanted to do was make a run in a nitro car. He goes, can you take him down the track for me? I go, done. So I was so honored to do it. I took that bag and I put it right in my fire suit and I got out of the car and I kind of had a little bit of a moment. And, you know, we actually prayed for him and his friend that I was carrying down the track through Races for Christ before I went. And I got out of the car and I took a Sharpie and I wrote down the ET and the mile per hour and signed it for him and gave it to him. And I think he's forever thankful. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that stuff for people.
It certainly is. And folks, as you listen to Buddy, what he's saying, he means it and he does practice it. I've experienced it myself. Darren has, and many others that are watching have experienced it. So, Buddy, keep up the good work. Look, to segue my last question and to give myself and Darren an opportunity to move on and you get some rest and get ready for U.S. Nationals, all that good stuff in this show. I was at the World Fuel Altered Nationals. I know you've got a place for altereds in your heart for sure. You have been at this sport now at all levels. You have promoted, you have raced, you've owned. You're at the NHRA Camping World Series with the Top Fuel dragster. When people talk about events, participate in events, attend events like a World Fuel Altered Nationals at Eddyville Raceway Park, how important are such events to the economy of drag racing overall?
That's a huge deal. First of all, Scott Galter's been putting on that race for I don't know how many years, 20 years or whatever, and it's highly successful. And those without those events, there aren't. There, maybe I wouldn't be running Top Fuel, right? Because some people don't know this. I got my start in a fuel altered, and I love fuel alters, and I actually have two of them, right? One of them's never been down the racetrack. We're going to run it sooner than later, but it's a huge deal. Grassroots nitro racing really is the precursor to the desire to want to drive and own a big car. So, that's where I came from, and that's where others came from. I can't really name any off the top of my head, but I know they're out there. And hey, if someone called me right now, or would have called me for the World Fuel International and said, "Hey, buddy, I got a 70-gallon nitro car, a fuel altered, you want to drive it?" Man, I would have been on an airplane, headed to Iowa, bells on, helmet under my arm, teasing from one ear to the other, saying, "Let's warm this thing up." I love those race cars. I think fuel alters are pretty much, in terms of extreme, maybe these, Top Fuel Pro mods that are out there right now. The one that Scott Palmer unfortunately had an accident in last weekend. Hopefully Scott's healing up. We love you, brother. But fuel alters are probably like the most extreme hot rod out there. Tim Wilkinson's got a really, really, really neat, fuel altered. And right here in Texas, you got Shane Ferris and Howard Ferris that have the War Wagon. That thing's incredible. It's been over 300 miles an hour. So those events are important. Those race cars are important. We work with a lot of those guys, me personally, and a lot of the parts that come off my car that cycle out and go to some of those race cars, crankshafts, valves, valve springs, all kinds of stuff. Alan Meyer right here at Meyer Machine. It's actually Larry Meyer's son that tuned for Lori Johns and Chuck Etchells. He has a machine shop right here in Denton, Texas. He has the Crossways fuel altered. And he runs our crankshafts that come out of our race cars. So without a little bit of us and a little bit of them, there's kind of nothing. So I think those events are super important. And man, I wish they got more exposure. I wish that maybe some of the media outlets would grab it up more. Maybe NHRA would grab it up a little bit more and promote it, because it's really cool. It's really the coolest thing out there. It really is. And it's the precursor. It's like the gateway drug, right? Like fuel alters and nostalgia Top Fuel and nostalgia fuel funny car. It's like the gateway drug. You know what I mean? With all pun intended.
No, I agree, buddy. Like, I'm into all that stuff. Fuel alters, nostalgia funny cars, nostalgia Top Fuel dragsters. Like, with the show that we do with me and Michael Anderson, like, hey, nostalgia, it's a real cool deal. And I would love to see that group, whether it's fuel alters or nostalgia funny cars or front engine Top Fuel dragsters, get more exposure, because those dudes, they're the real deal. They put a lot of hard work into what they do, and I think they deserve some more exposure than what they get so far. So I would love to see that. Yeah,
100%. I mean, they work their butts off. I mean, they're working on a fuel car. They got these guys show up with their hot rod. They got 5 or 6 crew guys, and they're servicing the thing, putting a new rack in it every run, and fueling it and oiling it and working their butts off. And so sometimes I wish they got more recognition. Maybe maybe some of them become more motivated to go out there and find marketing partners and move up into a big Top Fuel car or a big show fuel funny car. Again, we need to grow. The solution, I don't think, is changing the rules to make the countdown more interesting. I think the solution is adding more cars to make the countdown more interesting.
There you go. Before we get you out of here, though, buddy, I got to do it. I know you've heard this 100 times, but we love this comment whenever we see it. He says, we need to see an arm wrestling contest between Hagen and Buddy Hall. We got to see it one day. Yeah. I definitely want to see it one day.
Matt about it. Matt and I are friends, and we text back sometimes, and we're always friendly. And someday we'll do something. I don't know what we're going to do. It obviously will be all for fun, but we've talked about doing like a medley with certain things that are really heavy at the racetrack or something like that. But Matt's a great guy, and he and I have joked around and we've talked about it, and we get a kick out of it how people talk about it and try to pit us against each other, because neither one of us are that way. But someday we'll do something. We'll make something fun. It's been kicked around by some of the media folks as well. So it's not just he and I have talked about it. And it's not just people that fans that think it'd be cool to make it happen. It's actually been kicked around. It's just not come to fruition yet, but maybe someday we can do that. It'd be super cool. Funny car and top fuel, and the deal. It'd be cool.
Well, buddy, man, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Love the paint scheme that you have for the U.S. Nationals, and good luck to you, man, in Indy, man. That's going to be a fun event.
Boom, boom. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, guys. I always love coming on the show. So appreciate it. Thanks, Competition Plus. Thanks, James. Thanks, Darren. I feel like this is kind of an original crew. And so it's always nostalgic for me to come on here and meet with you guys. I just love it.
Buddy, thank you. Go smash at Indy.
That's it. That's the plan.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Really one of the coolest and most down-to-earth drivers you will ever meet in the NHRA. Buddy Hall, man, just a cool guy.
He certainly is. And what he is talking about, he believes it, and he does put it into practice. And I do want to say congratulations, mentioning the World Fuel Altered Nationals A-Field winner, John Umlauf. He picked up the win in the Mass Chaos Fuel Altered, which is a new riding combination for them. They've had that name, Mass Chaos, for a while, but this is some new pipe to them. And it is a bad-looking machine, and they are still stretching the legs on that hot rod, dipping in to the threes, a 383 in the 8th mile with a fuel altered. I mean, remember, you don't have the downforce, you don't have the wheelbase. I mean, that is an insane ride at Eddyville nonetheless, and got the A-Field win there at Eddyville Raceway Park. And then Paul Applebaum, he picks up the win in the B field with a, if you will allow me, a true altered. It is a nostalgia. It is a historic chassis that he is in, and one good-looking altered, and he picks up the B field win at the 18th Quick Performance World Fuel Altered Nationals at Eddyville Raceway Park.
Lee, so I'm happy that you mentioned that, because I brought that up at the beginning of the show. Kind of just tell us your overall experience at that race. I believe it was your first time there, but to see a full show, a full slate of outlaw fuel altereds going at it, it had to be just nitro overload, because I know your love for fuel altereds, and I'm pretty sure it was just an amazing event all around.
I wish that fuel altereds, whether nitromethane burning or methanol burning, got more love. They have had a place in the sport, I feel, for too long, that they are like the bastards of the sport, when really the people that are driving them should be counted as premier individuals within the sport. Because to drive these race cars or these hot rods, they might even be considered the most extreme hot rod, because you still have the motor in the front. It's not quite a funny car because you don't have a full body, but it's not quite a top field dragster because you don't have the wheelbase. It is in this weird, insane, no man's land situation of, let's go race as dumb as I can, but as fast as I can. And it just is spectacular. And some of these cars, whether it's Drastic Plastic or it's Pete Dove with his Back from the Ashes, or even John Umlauf with Mass Chaos, the header flames that they shoot out, I don't know what these guys have figured out, but massive header flames, like you are at a big show with a big show, fuel funny car, top fuel dragster. And it is just interesting and so cool to see these powerful cars at a setting like an Eddyville Raceway Park, where it is extremely challenging to race at, because not of the surface, great surface, but you have to manage very well that shutdown area. And you're doing it in a car that's hard enough to manage going in your own lane, much less in the shutdown area. Spectacular machines. It was a great event. It is a great event. I look forward to the 19th running of the World Fuel Altered Nationals. I will say, I do wonder what Gerald Kramer, the owner there at Eddyville Raceway Park, and Scott Gardner, he helps in promoting that deal. What the future holds, Gerald has got a lot of great events going on for Eddyville Raceway Park. The now double with Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos, his Night of Fire is a spectacular program. And this World Fuel Altered Nationals has been around again for 18 years, looking forward to the 19th year. But it might be time for some resurgence with it. I would love to see this style of event be an event where in the central part of the country, the people from the east, like with Rat Poison, Petronino, I believe it is, and people from the west, like Corey Lee with the Sheep Herder, and Plan A with Johnny West, and all of these guys, everybody kind of congregates to Iowa. That would be cool to see, and it be a title amongst the fuel altered people that is a must to win. I'd like to see that.
It's funny that you mentioned that, and it's because, and like I said, I know your love for fuel altereds. It's having that urge in not just the fuel alter class, but I feel like we're having that kind of urge in like front engine top fuel as well. It's like you have all these cars that's on the East Coast and they don't really come out west. You have all these cars on the West Coast, they don't really come out east. And you really just want to see kind of both sides just kind of meet somewhere in the middle and just throw down and just have at it. See who's actually the best of the best in their certain class. And so I totally agree with what you're saying of wanting to see that with fuel altered, because we've been wanting to see it with nostalgia cars. We've been wanting to see it with front engine top fuel dragsters. So and like you and me, Lee, we love our nostalgia racing. So I definitely hear where you're coming from. But yeah, man, I tell you, with fuel alters too, you can agree with me or not, but they tend to be the more crazier of the nitro drivers too. They're not a lot connected.
Oh yeah. There's some like, it's not just screws loose, like the screws gone.
Yeah. They like people who drive fuel alters have like the real, like, they don't know what it means to lift. Like they do not know what it means to lift whatsoever because they're not lifting. Nope. Not at all.
Nope. No. Also, for whatever reason, most of them don't know how to do an interview. Like they don't want to say anything on camera. They are race car drivers, man.
Hey Lee, that's a conversation for another day, man. Fuel alter drivers, that's a conversation for another day. We ain't go there. There's a certain look to a fuel alter driver, and I know why they don't want to do an interview, because it's like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just saying.
Man, you went there. No, it is a wonderful area of the sport, and like it would be cool to see with what War Wagon and what the Hartman Wilkerson altered are, because there is that there is that argument that they're not true fuel altereds. I don't agree with that. I think it's the modern progression of a class that to stay relevant, it does need to progress, but it would be cool to see more of those style of cars and see competition with just those type of cars, even possibly at the NHRA level, and the NHRA exploring the avenues of a revamped and modernization of the national event and that type of car being included as well. Who knows what is out there in the future, but I think such things need to be on the table. Fuel alters for life.
And it's funny that my buddy Dar Harthorne, he was actually putting together a fuel alter race that was supposed to happen in Bakersfield Memorial Day weekend last season, but kind of the after effects of COVID kind of messed everything up, like stuff like that. So hopefully Dar is considering putting that race back on in the future, because it was supposed to be like a big fuel alter type race with maybe 15, 16 cars and stuff like that. But like I said, it kind of fell through at the last second. But yeah, man, fuel alter, just a beautiful class. I mean, the different variations and stuff like that, the different drivers, and how like I said, there not a lot of the screws are really tightened up there. So it's a beautiful class, great race car, a lot of history too within that class. So
yes,
definitely needs to see that, get a little more notoriety than what they do.
I completely agree. Look, man, I am sitting in a Starbucks parking lot somewhere in Wisconsin using internet, and I still need to continue to get down the road. But that getting down the road is going to be to Indianapolis for testing. But after testing, it's on to, frankly, one of the biggest drag racing events of the year. And that is,
Did you say one?
what
of?
is it, Darren?
Did you say one of?
Yeah, one of the
One
biggest
of?
events. Yeah,
One.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
the, but one of. It's the. This is the
Well,
premiere.
I mean, would be in 2 weeks, but this weekend there is one of.
Oh, this
I
weekend.
would say.
I'm thinking. I'm tripping. I'm thinking of the U.S.
Yeah,
Nationals.
yeah.
My
We're
bad.
we're not quite to the U.S. Nationals.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
I'm
so
not
excited.
taking away from the. I'm
I'm so
not taking
excited.
away from the U.S. Nationals that it's the biggest drag race in the world, and there is, like 1,000 cars on property, and but Slap Shoes can't give it enough time in one of his videos. Do some research, man. But nonetheless,
Why do we care what a NASCAR guy thinks anyway? Who cares?
well, when you say the whole city is Race City, USA, and you don't mention the biggest of something in the entire world, along with what the Indy 500 is, I mean, come on.
That's what he said. He didn't include the U.S. Nationals.
No, he included it, but it gets like just
I got you.
little place.
Okay, before I let you finish, though,
Okay,
I will say
okay.
though, this is a drag racing show, but now that we are mentioning NASCAR, Daytona is about to be off the hook this weekend. I just want to say that it's about to be amazing. But you can finish.
Maryland International Raceway will host the first ever Funny Car Chaos East race. That is this weekend.
Badass. First
over 40 funny cars.
First West Coast race in Albuquerque a couple weeks ago. Now they're going east to Maryland. Funny Car Chaos. I like it.
Yes. And at a world-class facility, it is going to be a stellar show. And by the way, this event will put us well over 200 funny cars that have competed in Funny Car Chaos competition. Who knew that there was that many funny cars?
Man, it's going to be a great event, man. This is race 7 of 9, so the championship picture is actually heating up as well, correct?
Well, it is. Now, this is not a points race. It is an exhibition race.
Okay, gotcha.
So it is not a points-paying race. But right after Maryland, the same weekend of the U.S. Nationals, a very long-running Labor Day drag race in and of itself is drag racing at MoKan, which will be the Funny Car Chaos race. They've been racing on Labor Day for a very long time, like 58 or 60 years, even at MoKan. And it will be a double points paying race, if you will, because for the first time ever in Funny Car Chaos history, a race has to be made up. Kearney, Nebraska was postponed, rained out, and qualifying at MoKan will be eliminations for Kearney, and then we roll into eliminations for MoKan. So the points can dramatically change at MoKan coming up on Labor Day weekend.
So if you have championship aspirations, you do not want to stumble at MoKan whatsoever. You do not want to stumble because that will be a detriment.
You do not want to stumble. You do not want to stumble. You do not. And people are taking it seriously. Kirk Williams was at the World Fuel Altered Nationals disguised as a funny car, and he was doing some testing.
Was he now?
He made like 4 laps testing, yes.
I love it. Hey man, you gotta when you're the reigning champ, you gotta back that up. You want to keep that world title. So I don't blame him whatsoever. Don't blame him whatsoever.
They were out there. The strangest looking fuel altered on the whole property, but no.
I love it. Any final thoughts for get out here, Lee?
I do not really have any final thoughts other than thank God I'm in drag racing. It is so cool right now.
Yeah, man. from Topeka, Kansas to Maryland International Raceway to the U.S. Nationals to MoCan. You're everywhere, man. You're the from McKinney Corp to Competition Plus to Buddy Hall to Doug Foley. Man, you're definitely doing it all here in the world of drag racing, I'll say.
Well, it has. This trip in particular has been a long one. I think when I do get home after Maryland for just a couple of days, it will be a solid 2.5 months on the road.
Ooh. How do you wash your clothes,
Right.
Lee?
2.5 months. They're called laundromats.
I don't know anything about that. When you grow up privileged, like me, you don't know anything about a laundromat. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. What do? You take your clothes to a laundry mat and just wash your clothes there? Is that what happens?
Darren, you're from LA. Don't start with me.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, you need to go wash. Yeah, just go on. Go on.
Wait, hold on. What were you going to say? What were you about to say?
Just go. Just go. Man.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to episode 141 of the Competition Plus Power Hour. Darryl Williams Jr. along with my man, Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Good night, everybody.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S. Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away. Competition Products, race parts sold by racers since 1970.